Hello everyone. In this set of videos, we're going to start to take a look at how interactivity works with your character controller. And we're going to look at several different types of interactivity. And what I mean by interactivity is things like picking up objects, pointing and clicking to particular objects to make something happen, like say you push a button on a console, or you pick up an object and drop something, or maybe you pick up an object and put it into your inventory. We've already looked at an example of this using triggers with our coins inside of the scene that we created last time. We're going to look at that a little bit more in depth in another video. But in this video, we're going to look at how we can pick up objects using the mouse. So I'm going to create a separate scene to demonstrate this in. So I'll go over to my scenes folder and create a new scene. And I'm going to call this mouse pickup. And let's open up that scene. Now once you're in the scene, what we'll do is we'll just create a quick plane inside of the scene to jump around on. I'm going to reset its position so it's in the middle of the scene, and hit F on the keyboard or double click on the plane. I'm also going to scale it up, and we're going to need our character controller. So I'm going to drag and drop the character controller into the scene, move it up so it's above the plane, and I'm also going to create an object for us to pick up, and that'll be a cube right over here. So we created a material last time, this yellow material. I'm going to duplicate this one by hitting Control D on the keyboard, and I'm going to rename this one red. And then change the albedo color to red here. Alright, so we'll drag and drop the red color onto the cube. And I'm just going to move it so it's above the plane. And I'm also going to want a rigid body on this so that when we drop it, or when we let go of the object falls. So I'm going to go to Add Component, and let's add a rigid body to this. So this is a box, just a cube with a box slider and a rigid body. And we get this red color material. Now for this particular interactivity, what we're going to do is use the mouse script with this. Now there's some advantages and disadvantages to this if you're doing a first-person game that requires mouse and keyboard. This works out fine, but if you are programming this using buttons, you might have to incorporate a raycast with this, which we're going to look at raycasts in another video. So in this particular situation, we're going to do it on the mouse click. So this is one way to do it, and we're going to create a pickup script that picks the object up, similar to like what you might see in like Half-Life 2, when you pick up objects and move around with them inside of the scene. Alright, so to get this started, we've got our player controller out here. We're going to have to add an object to our player controller, and this specific object is going to basically act as though it's our hands. It's going to tell the object to basically move to or parent to this particular object, and it's going to hold it as we hold down the mouse button. So I'm going to create a game object, an empty game object, and I'm going to drag and drop it into the player character controller. We can put it right on the main camera for now, and I'm just going to zero this out, and I'm going to look at above here in my scene and take a look at the frustum of the camera, and we're going to want to move the game object out in front of the camera here. So I'm going to go to the camera, move it out like that slightly, and then look at it from the side, and select the game object and maybe move it down a bit like that. So it's like right in front where our hands would be. You could also do this with like a character model. If you had a character model and the hands, you'd want to parent it to the hands or that type of thing. So there's a couple of useful things we're going to be looking at here. I'm going to call this game object obj holder. And the script isn't actually going to go onto our player controller. It's going to go onto the object itself in this particular situation. So what we're going to do is create a new script. So go to your scripts folder and we'll create a C# script and call it mouse pickup. Oh, this is in the scenes folder. I gotta move that after I. It's like, why is mouse pickup already there? I'm gonna move that in the scripts folder. And then open that up in Visual Studio. Alright, so once mouse pickup is open, there's a couple of things that we're going to need here. The first thing is going to be a variable for a public transform. So it's going to be a public, call it transform, and we'll call it destination obj. We'll then create another variable here. It's going to be a boolean, and it's going to be called picked up, and we'll set it to false. This is going to indicate whether or not we've picked up the object. Alright, so for this particular script, we're not going to need the start or update function. We could delete both of those here. And there's going to be two different functions that we're going to call, and they're built-in functions in Unity. There's on mouse down. So if you type in on mouse down, it should come up. And then we've also got on mouse up, and that's going to be when we release the object. So we've got two different functions here, and basically they're going to trigger when we click down and release the mouse. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to tell the rigid body on the cube, because this script is going to be on the cube, that we're going to turn off gravity. So we're going to get component, and we're going to grab the rigid body, and we're going to take gravity and set it equal to false. Alright, so the first step is to take away the gravity, just to shut it off. Next thing we're going to do is set the kinematic value of the rigid body to true. So get component, rigid body is kinematic, and we'll set equal to true. And what that will mean is that we're moving the object either through animation or through code here. Okay. Alright, so we've got is kinematic set to true. The next thing we'll do is we'll set the position of this object to the destination object, that object holder that we created inside of our scene. So we'll say this dot transform dot position is equal to destination obj dot position. After that, we will then parent the object to that game object. So this is kind of a useful piece of code. It allows you to parent objects to one another on the fly. So we'll say this dot transform dot parent. And we'll set this equal to GameObject.find. And we're gonna put in the name of the object holder. So you want this to be the same exact capitalization and spelling as the one that's inside of your scene. So it's gonna be obj holder dot transform. Just going to grab that object's transform. And if you look inside of our editor here, obj holder is here. So it's going to be looking for that exact spelling when it searches for that. Alright, so let's head back over to Visual Studio. And what happened to Visual Studio? There we go. And what we'll do is we'll set the picked up variable equal to true. Alright, so we have that set up. Now we want to release the object. So what we'll do is we'll say this dot transform dot parent is going to be equal to null. And I'll put it back into the main hierarchy again. And then we're going to want to turn gravity back on. So what we could do is grab these two lines of code from here. And then paste them down below. And we're just going to reverse these values. So this is going to be true. It's going to be false. And then after that, we'll set picked up equal to false. Alright, so you should be able to save this. And let's head back to Unity. We've got a cube. I'm going to rename the cube to pick up obj. And let's put the script onto here. So I'll take the mouse pickup script and drag it and drop it into here. And you'll see that we have the destination obj as a transform here. What you could do is you can drag and drop your object holder to here. Now I'm going to hit play mode here. I think maximize on play is turned on. Oops, I forgot to remove the main camera from the scene. I'm just going to delete this one. And now hit play again. And you can see we're moving around our scene here. And if you click on the object, it'll pick up the object and you can move around with it. And if you let go, it puts it down. So if I click way over here, see nothing happens. But what it's doing is it's looking at wherever the mouse would be on the screen. So if you're not sure of where the mouse is, you can put some sort of crosshair there, or if you hit the escape key, you'll see that the mouse is there. Alright. That's pretty much how to create a pickup script. So in the next video, we're going to take a look at another type of interactivity. We'll be looking at triggers in the next one. We'll then tie together all these different forms of interactivity into an overall scene.